Corso and Catone.
I think, well, listen, Mark, listen, hold on. When I say, would you have caffeine today?
What the hell is that up to?
Presented by Specials Off Podcast, Studio 42 Design, and Corso Law Group. Now for the real deal New England feel, Corso and Catone.
Welcome into Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. Barry White alongside Mark Catone, and Joe is in the booth. I got a cold.
What happened? What did you swallow? You swallow a frog or something?
I sound like you'll never find. I mean,
well, first of all, that's Lou Rawls.
That's Lou Rawls. Right. Well, you know what's the difference, right? Nobody out there knows who the hell we're talking about anyway. So. Mark is with us. Joe is with us. You're with us on YouTube, iHeartRadio, listening, Apple Podcast, anywhere you podcast. And you can listen live on Podbean. And, hey, call us, 855-313-PATS, our heated hotline. Leave us a message 24/7. You know the drill. Joe's going to pick one. We want it to be yours. So 855-313-72. We don't have one today, 7287. We got weekly rewind today. So we got a lot of stuff to get to. So we have a few on the pan. We'll play them next week. But we do have a good show. And for you fans in the nation, the Pats Nation is here. The Prodigal Son returns. We're going to talk Pats Raiders as they travel to Las Vegas. And we're taping on Friday, about an hour before the game now?
Before the game, yep.
So we're going to have some thoughts about who's in, who's out. Some of this roster stuff, and when this airs tomorrow night, you can see if we were right or wrong. Mark's usually wrong, so
Joe, he's always going to throw that little dig in, Joe.
Every time. And speaking of Mark, stick around for Catone's comments. Always a favorite, and weekly rewind, a lot to get to, as I said. So, gentlemen, good week. How are we doing?
Doing good. I can't wait. That's how excited I am. Two more weeks, and we get to see real football.
And hey, for everybody out there who thinks that Patriots should just pack their bags now and get into the offseason, but I think they'll play the games anyway. So
I'll play.
See what happens. Speaking of which, we want to get with the Pats Nation. Hey, the only Patriots post-game show worth watching. Join Mark and I 30 minutes following every Patriots game for all our post-game coverage, and that's going to be starting on September 11th when the Patriots travel to Miami. So, gentlemen, are we ready to go with Pats Nation?
Let's go.
Yeah. Yo. Welcome to Pats Nation. And listen, Mark, they traveled to Vegas this week. Thank God you and I weren't there. Oh my goodness. We wouldn't have made it for the show. Mark would be
that may be a field trip when they go out there for real in the regular season. Maybe a field trip.
Stay tuned.
That one.
We'll show you live footage from the strip.
We'll make sure Mark isn't face down in Caesars somewhere in the sports book. But listen, they traveled to Vegas, as we said. They're going to be playing in about an hour against the Raiders. And again, they had joint practices this week. No fighting, which we said last week.
No fighting this week, we knew that wouldn't happen this week.
And the Prodigal Son returns. So it's Josh McDaniel is now the head coach of the Vegas Raiders. And of course, his departure from New England. And it's been a lot of talk. And we're going to get to that in Coach's Corner in a little bit. But Mark, looking at the week of practice, there was a lot of talk, the way they started the week, the way they finished the practices Monday, the different reports from different places. I mean, you had the reports out of New England that they were terrible on Monday or Tuesday, and they rebounded again the second day of joint practices. But when you hear the Vegas take, it's we were kind of sleepwalking the first day, and then we rebounded the second day. So I'm not sure who to believe there. What did you see?
Well, we didn't see much because there was no media access.
But you heard things.
But
I mean,
we heard things, right? We heard things. So, yeah, the first day, allegedly, I mean, McDaniels was basically calling out the plays to the defense, like letting them know what was going to come, right? So, and you knew that would happen. I mean, obviously, but what that did tell me was they obviously were using. Even everyone keeps saying all summer about this. They're putting in the Shanahan offense. Well, if McDaniels was calling out different schemes and different types of formations, then obviously they're still using a lot of what he used to do. So that kind of, not a lot of people brought that up. They just brought up how bad the offense was. But that I thought was kind of insightful there, that he was actually calling things out. So they're doing the same things that or at least some of the formations and schemes that he knows that's what they're doing. And he knows what's going to come out of that for the most part, right? Or what types of things can come out of that. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, the offense supposedly struggled the first day. Except at the very end in the 2-minute drill, I guess, he threw a nice pass to Hunter Henry for a touchdown. And I was glad to see Hunter Henry back on the field. I will tell you that, because that was getting me a little bit nervous, right? Because he's had that history of being injured. And day 2 was markedly better on the offensive side of the ball from what we could gather from all reports. I'm going to tell you, the kid that's going to make this team, especially with Thornton being out, and we'll get into Thornton in a little bit because I know Chris has a major take on that, because of course he's going to say, "I told you so, Joe."
You know what? Don't put words in my mouth. You know what I'm going to say.
Joe,
everybody always knows you're wrong. I don't have to say it.
Yeah. So, but I'm going to tell you who impressed me. Not Trey Nixon, and not Wilkerson. The kid Humphrey is going to make this team. He's playing well on special teams. He can play slot. He can play outside. And he can play the Jonnu Smith role as a tight end if you need him to, because he's a good blocker as well. I will be shocked if this kid Humphrey, Chris, doesn't make this team over those other two guys, especially, or maybe he's the extra receiver, not if Thornton's out for 8 weeks, 9 weeks, and then they'll make a decision. But with Thornton being hurt, Humphrey's going to make this team. And defensively, listen, 2 good days shown by the defensive line. I think the corners struggled day 1. Devontae Adams and Renfro had a field day on them the first day of practice, right? I don't think they knew what to do with those 2 guys. I mean, they're 2 All-Pros, obviously, right? But the defensive line held their own, played well. And I'll end it with this, and then I'll let you give us your take. Our offensive line was abysmal day 1. I mean, Crosby and Chandler Jones had a field day with that offensive line, and I know you got something to say about the offensive line.
Yeah, well, a lot to unwrap there. So
yes, a ton.
Let's start from the beginning of that. And let's talk about the receivers, because, day 1, it's been the same all camp, right? People are talking about how bad the offense looks, how bad the offensive line works. Nothing's in sync. How much did they do in joint practices against the Raiders? Let's not forget, they're going to face them later in the year. Now, by the time they play, and I think it's December 18th,
there'll be a lot of film.
There's going to be a lot of different changes, and it'll look like a new team both ways. Yeah. So, but to take apart that day 1 and some of the receiver, Mark brings up Humphrey. And Mark, I agree with you. And he's a big target. He's a big receiver. And, but he's got enough quickness and enough speed where he can provide some depth also in that Ty Montgomery role.
Yep.
That sort of Deebo Samuel role. He's not that kind of player.
No, but I think, you're right.
He can get the ball out of the backfield. He can do a couple of different things for them and provide depth. I mean, let's, nobody says he's walking in and starting. That's not happening.
No.
But I think he's shown enough where I don't think you can bury this guy in the practice.
No, somebody will pick if you try to get him through waivers and bring him back. You're right. Somebody will pick him up.
Because now that wide receiver room, and do we agree that, because of all the talk about trades,
I wonder
Aguilar,
if Thornton
Bourne,
didn't get
are
hurt.
these guys going to get
If
moved?
Thornton didn't get hurt, do you think they might have pulled the trigger on a veteran, like getting rid of one of those guys if Thornton was healthy and didn't get hurt? I don't know.
Well, I would think if they were going to do something like that, it would have to be Aguilar if they could move that $9 million contract, because this team is trying to get some cap relief right now for the season, for the mid-season point where they can make a couple of moves and do a couple of things, possibly. And so names that are coming up where Aguilar, Wynn now is another one. We'll talk about that in a second. But so at this point, though, and then you had the whole Bourne saga from last week. But at this point, as far as trades go, I think they're going to have to stand pat with what they have. So that wide receiver room should look like Parker, Aguilar, Bourne, Myers. It was Thornton for sure. Now I think, Humphrey may step into that role, right? One of those three guys, Wilkerson, Humphrey, or Nixon. And I'm with you. I think Humphreys is in the lead simply, honestly, because of what you said and the special teams. Belichick covets that. He wants special team guys. He wants guys to contribute there. So I think you're right about that. And with Thornton, the loss of him. So, Mark, I want your take on what, and we'll talk about his physical, stature and what, his size and what I think the issues are in a sec. But what does this do to this offense?
Well, I'm going to listen. I know Aguilar, when they signed him last year, they thought he could be that speed guy that could spread the field and open up the field. And yeah, he does that a little bit. But listen, the kid Thornton, Chris, had a burst off the line and an acceleration off the line. He had quick feet. If he could get by the press coverage, he was gone. You were going to have to account for him over the top or double him something. Somehow, some way, you had to account for him because he is blazing quick, and there's no substitute for quickness. So he's the opposite of what Harry was. Harry didn't have good footwork. Harry was slow off the line. So guys would grab him, they'd hold him up. He didn't have that unbelievable track speed acceleration. So when people say, he's going to be another Harry, he's not going to be another Harry. The kid has the ability.
Oh, he's not even close to the same kind of
I
guy.
heard that this week a couple times after the injury came out. But this kid has the ability to be a real good receiver in this league. And I think he will be with Mac Jones. However, tell us your take.
You're going to let me have my take now?
I'm going to let you have your take on what he has to do, Chris.
Look, it's been no secret. Mark is big on this guy. And look, I think you're right. Honestly, I mean, I know we're agreeing, Joe. We're agreeing too much.
Yeah, you guys, come on. Yeah. The fans like that shit.
But so I agree with the potential that he has, his speed. And the thing with his speed, I'll tell you this, what I've seen in camp from him, what impressed me the most is his ability. I was worried about his ability to get off the line.
Yep.
What's his hand fighting going to be like? What's his move off the line? How can he separate immediately? Because guys are going to look at that 6'2", 185, 180, or whatever it was, 6'2", 182, 180.
Yeah, something like
light.
that. Yeah,
that's really light, and I think corners, defensive coordinators look at the guy like that and say, we can take him off his route. We can bump this guy and not let him get – you have to anyway, because you got to wall him off somehow and not let him get the speed, or else you're in trouble, because all it has to happen is once in a game. And now you're rolling coverage to him all day, which frees up. Yeah. You're rolling safeties over the top to help. And now that frees up a lot for Bourne and Myers and Aguilar and Parker and guys like this. So the biggest thing with him, and my take was always, he's just small, his size. He looks frail. He's that lanky, frail looking guy. And I've been worried about what's going to happen when this guy takes a shot. Now, I think it happened in the second quarter. He caught a pass, very subtle, caught a pass, kind of got taken to the ground, got up and kind of just touched his shoulder a little, then went off. And that's where I think it happened. Yeah, so he's going to have to get in the offseason. He's going to have to get a little bigger, without losing speed. And they have ways to do that. So to me, that's the only knock. But I agree with you. I think he's going to be something else. Do you think that Belichick – you think it's going to be one of those typical rookie things now? Yeah, he got hurt. he can come back. He'll be eligible to come back.
Because they're saying he might. That's what I'm saying, because they're saying 8, 10, 11, 12 weeks. But because you got a couple of weeks before the regular season starts, well, now you add 6 more. If he is able to come back in 8, that's only week 6.
Well, they haven't, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they haven't designated him on anything yet. They haven't put him on IR or anything like that yet.
And I think, don't they still have, because of COVID, I don't think they did away with it. I think they allowed it again this year, Chris. You can IR somebody 4 games, and they're eligible to come off after 4. So you could do that. And then
they have to be on the roster.
Well, that's the thing. He could practice. Yeah, if they do that, he's going to be on the roster day 1.
So
I don't know if he's willing to do that.
Well, first week of the first week leading up to the game, I think there's a date where rosters are set. They're down to 53, I think, next Tuesday on the 30th. So he'd have to be on the team. But the problem is he takes that spot and immediately goes to either goes to that IR like you're talking about. Well,
if he goes to IR long term, Chris, and is the first week he's eligible to come off, isn't it like week 9 or something? 10?
Yeah, I think there's levels of that. There's a week 3. I think there's a week 6. But again, he can go on PUP. He can go on PUP, and that's a week 6, I think. A week 6 or 7.
Well, maybe maybe that's the option. Here's the thing, Chris. I know when things happen like this with rookies, Belichick, they disappear. You never see him again. Buries them. I get it. Mm-hmm. But I don't think you can do that with this kid. I'm going to tell you why. Because even if he comes off week 6 or 7, he was there for almost 3 quarters of training camp. You bring him back at that point of the season and can get him rolling a little bit. Listen, I know we're jumping way ahead of ourselves, but if you're in the hunt for a playoff berth, he can give you something down the stretch that hasn't been, you haven't shown teams all year, and he may add something to that offense late in the year. You know, when you need that spark late in the year, he could technically give them that. So it's going to be interesting to see what he chooses to do with him.
Yeah, and PUP, for those of you who don't, that's physically unable to perform list. And when you put a guy on that at the beginning of the year, they have to sit out about 6 weeks, 6 games, something like that. So the reason we keep harping on Thornton, we spend a lot of time on Thornton, is for the same reason we talked and complained, and everybody everywhere was complaining about athleticism on the field at the receiver position. We don't have a 1, we don't have an X, we don't have a guy out on the end that can get downfield. Well, now we have one, and now he's hurt. Mark, I foresee Belichick hanging his shoes up for the season.
Yeah, that's what I see. You know what? I will be so upset if that happens. You don't even know how upset I'll be.
But getting to the rest of the, looking at that passing game, because you had said the last couple of weeks with this new system, this Shanahan system, it really doesn't make a ton of difference to the receivers if you really boil it down. The routes and the patterns and the things like that, they're similar. There's not a ton of difference. It's really more so in the running game. And I don't think that the receivers are disgruntled about changing that offense into that scheme. I really don't. It's more the offensive line that's having the big issue. And so, Mark, are they just bitching about the change because they're inadequate? They can't they're just not playing well, and it's excuses, especially with those two. Let's talk about the tackles, because there's a lot this week about Wynn and Brown, and two things.
Well, let me ask you this, Chris. Is Brown athletic enough to play this system?
I think so, because as far as the tackle goes, there's not a hell of a lot more to do. You're still kicking out on the end.
Okay.
Right. It's really the interior that's moving.
So it's really strange. The guard, the center, and the guard, Owino and Andrews. Yeah. Okay.
If Owino's in the guard spot, I hope it is, because Ferenz. And by the way, I was wrong last week when we came out, because I was watching it through the snow, the Carolina game, and I was blaming Andrews for one of those plays. Yeah, Ferenz. He had a horrendous game last week. Horrendous. But anyway, but I heard that Brown is pissed off now because he wasn't told he was going to be playing left tackle.
Oh my God.
Therefore he's not getting left tackle money. I think he's getting like $6.5 million this year. So he's pissed off about that. Meanwhile, on the other side, okay, Wynn can't stay on the field. He's irritated with the change. So you have your 2 left tackles that aren't happy, don't like the change. And here's our year 2 quarterback that made the Pro Bowl last year. That's ready to make a big jump. And how's he going to be protected? Mark, what the hell is going to happen with this offensive
let
line?
me ask you a question. You know what's interesting? And I'm going to get to the offensive line in a second. But did you ever hear this much noise? I'll use the word disgruntlement coming out of any Patriot locker room or camp before the last couple of years. So
No.
either Belichick is really starting to lose command of that locker room, and people are just fed up with his way about things. And these guys come in, you paid them, they're here, but it ain't like the old days. Or B, and I don't want to say this because I know you're going to get pissed off, was it number 12 who said, listen, what goes on in this locker room stays in this goddamn locker room, and they took his lead because he said nothing.
Yes.
So was it Belichick or was it number 12?
No, I'm not going to get pissed off at that because you're right. Look, and I want to move to the defensive side of the ball so we can get to the coaching, okay? No, listen, there's only the 2 guys on this team that are leaders right now. There's only 2 guys on offense that you can look at. Andrews, and these coincidentally, these have been the 2 most vocal guys. Andrews and their second-year quarterback, Mac Jones. That's it. That's it. There's nobody else on this offense that's a leader that can get in front of the team or anything like that. And this is a day and age of social media. They listen to everything. They read their press like Tatum does. Not to mix sports, but like Tatum does for the Celtics. And they read it all. They hear it all. They're looking for it all. Even more so now than even 5 years ago, 8 years ago. I mean, and you have the media circus out here in New England just trying to generate phone calls in a slow period. I mean, I listen to some of these people, and it's like schizophrenic. You know what I mean? Like you can't, from day to day, the takes change, and it should generate things. And these guys are hearing it. They've been hearing for months. The coaching staff sucks. Judge and Patricia can't coach offense. They don't know anything about football. Belichick's losing it. Tom Brady was everything. And so now when those 2 fat asses on the ends, okay, those 2 tackles, and I don't like either one of them, Mark. I made no secret about that.
Listen, I honestly think with that salary, I seriously think they may move him.
Yeah, they should.
They're not going to move.
Like Dallas.
They're not going to move Brown, but they may very well move Wynn.
Yeah, Dallas is a team that just lost their tackle and may need some depth right now. They got a rookie they're high on, but again, it's giving them a crutch. And I'm not giving the coaches an out. We're going to get to that in a minute. But again, there's a lot of complaining going on instead of a lot of work being done. That it looks like to me. And you can put the blame on this one and that one and the other thing. But at the end of the day, when you're a player and you got to get out on that field and you got to execute, okay? So don't tell me, hey, there's something wrong with this particular play because I'm not being taught how to do it right. I've never heard such a bunch of crap in my life coming from players. I'm not being taught. I'm a professional. I'm a pro athlete. I'm a guy that's making $10 million a year. I've been playing this game since I was 5. Okay. And you're telling me I need to be taught again how to reach block? The communication I get. That's an ongoing process on the offensive line. We talked about it last week. So that's new. That's different. But it's scapegoats. That's what I think. So offensively, they're still getting a lot of crap. Mac Jones, came out and called Patricia brilliant this week. And in Coach's Corner, we talk about that. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens tonight. We'll see how many guys are playing on the offense. They said they're going to get limited action. So I'm interested to see what kind of body language is going out there on the field tonight. Tell me what happens in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I know.
Offense.
I mean, I understand limited action, but Jesus, let them play the first quarter anyway, right? The more reps they can get, the better against another team. Let them play the first quarter. I'm not saying play them the whole first half, but the first quarter, those guys should be on the field.
I think you're going to see that too. I do think you're going to see that for the first quarter, probably 3 series. Now, the flip to the other side of the ball, okay? Listen, I know they're not the most talented defense in football, but I'm starting to believe a little bit.
What do you
I'm starting to believe. Because I believe that defensive front is a hell of a lot better than people think they are. Okay. I think Guy, Gottschall, Bondmore, Ray, okay, the undrafted guy out of Alabama. Mark, these are good. They've been showing well, in my opinion. You know, and again, we criticized some of that last week, and I went back and watched it again, and I thought they played well. And Uche has shown some.
Oh, you were watching it on UHF TV. You had the antenna hanging out of your head, for Christ's sakes.
No, but seriously, I mean, I think they've shown well, and I am happy. I'm happier with the linebackers they got out there, because what did we bitch about all off season?
Yeah, like they didn't get in the linebackers speed, sideline to sideline. They can't cover. They can't get in gaps. They can't get in holes because they don't have the athletic ability to do that. And Wilson, you believe, is showing some of that, right?
And McMillan too.
Now, what about the guy they put on IR this week? You went crazy when you saw that. Perkins, again, another IR. Put him on the shelf because he stinks. So Belichick's going to save him for another year. And maybe a third-round pick. He couldn't afford to cut another third-round pick. He couldn't. So I put him on IR.
It's one of those. It's another situation where in mid-rounds that you used to be pretty damn good. Not you, Pioli and company, and Dimitrov, and guys like that used to be good in the mid-rounds. This is not. However, if you hit on Uche, if you hit on Jennings.
Which he may have. Jennings has looked good on the edge, Chris.
You know, then and because you had a Barmore situation, that pick, yeah, you know, so he can redeem himself some if Perkins is the crap guy out, but some of these other guys perform, we'll see. But I do think they've gotten more athletic in the center of that field, which is what we wanted to see, which is what they're going to have to do against the competition this year, all those crossers and things like that. So
positively.
I'm happy with the defensive front.
What about the corners?
Yeah, getting to the secondary now. You know, that's the Achilles heel of this team. So you're going to have good pass rush to help these guys. Jalen Mills, though, I will say that he is emerging as a pretty damn good corner, at least looking like that in camp. Day 2 with the Raiders this week, he did pretty well on Adams. Day 2, he didn't. You know, he made a couple of plays on him.
Listen, no one's going to totally shut Adams down.
No, and the bigger problem was Hunter Renfrow. You know, in the center of that field, in the middle.
But but you drafted guys you drafted the kid Jones for that, the kid from Houston. Yeah. I'm surprised he couldn't stay with him.
Williams, you drafted too for that.
I'm not even bringing him up, for Christ's sake. He's another IR guy, right?
The Jones brothers, Marcus and Jack Jones, had a tough week. They did have a tough week.
They did.
And they had looked pretty good. But again, they're rookies. I think both of them will be pretty good players. The guy So I think the way this season's going to start is Mills is going to be your he's going to be your number one. And I honestly think I don't think it's going to be Mitchell now on the other side.
It's going to be Jonathan Jones.
Jonathan Jones. I do. And you know the other guy I like?
Sean Wade.
Yeah. Wade to me has shown all preseason, all camp. And to me, the odd guy out is going to be Mitchell, because Mitchell has looked poor. He's tackling.
And listen, he had a lot of reps early in camp. I think Belichick gave him every opportunity to be one of the starters, Chris.
Yeah. And I think that Wade has a higher ceiling. Yeah. I think Wade is he's a younger guy. He's got a lot more to go. Whereas Mitchell may be what he is at this point. So
at this stage of his career. Yeah. Right.
So tonight, keep that watch in mind, and I want to see hotline next week. I want
to see the kid Bledsoe tonight too, Chris.
Yeah, and I think the safeties are pretty well set at this point. You know, I think that's the strength of their secondary. But again, keep your eye on Mitchell Wade. You know, and we'll see what happens. On that side. But Mark, Joe, you want to give him a little? I want to get to the coaching. Okay, but I want to give everybody out there a little preview of some of the things we're going to see in Joe. I hope you're ready for this. I don't know that he is, but I want to give you a little preview of some of the little segments we're going to have during the Pats Nation, the only Patriots postgame show worth watching. Joe, Coach's Corner, can we do it?
I am ready. I have been ready since first call.
Wow,
that's why he.
Coach's Corner.
By the way, that was a line from a movie, and if anybody out there can guess that line from the movie, tell them what they win, Hal.
What's he talking about? What line?
I don't know. I didn't hear it.
Commercial. I said, I am ready. I have been ready since first call. Roll. It's actually a line from a movie, if you can guess it.
I don't know.
Tell anybody out there in the nation can guess it.
Call it in, heated hotline. Joel, give us the answer at the end of the show. But I was he cut me off and said, Joe, this is why you get paid the big bucks. This is the reason for things like that. Now, coaching, Mark. It's been the topic. It's getting annoying. It's getting friggin' annoying. It's what's being used to spark conversation to me at this point. Mm-hmm. So everybody's complaining, saying, I don't understand what Belichick is doing. I'm scratching my head. I don't get it. You bring Patricia and Judge in and never coached offense and in a new system. How the hell can we get this done? They're going to ruin Mac Jones, who's calling the plays. Mark, what do you make of this circus act that's happening here?
I don't think the coaching is as bad as everyone. Listen, let me rephrase that. I think Joe Judge is a train wreck. Okay, that I will agree with. I think Joe Judge is a train wreck, and I don't want him anywhere near my quarterback. I'm just gonna put it out there. You even if you watch those first couple of preseason games, he's a train wreck out there. Okay, I don't think Patricia's that bad. I think Patricia, you give him a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, I think he'll settle in. I think, believe it or not, Brian Hoyer and Mac Jones are helping Patricia settle in. But I think Patricia's going to be okay. I mean, is he Josh McDaniels? Well, no, he's not Josh McDaniels. But I think he's smart. He was a defensive coordinator who always had us in the top 10 in defense. He obviously studied offenses, could decipher what teams were doing, how to shut things down on the opposite side of the ball. I think he'll be okay. And I'm going to be honest with you, Chris. And you've been saying this since the beginning of the year, beginning of the offseason. I'm sorry. Matt Patricia is a stopgap because we both believe that Billy O'Brien will probably be here next year.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
And
That's what we think.
I do.
We think that it was one of those handshakes between Belichick and Saban. Hey, O'Brien committed to giving you X number of years. This is the last year he committed to. I'll leave him with you, but the next year, if he wants to come, I'm taking him. And I think Saban gave him the wink and said, "Okay, Bill, we're good. Give me one more year with them." So
you and I are the only two. You and I are the only two that think this. You and I are the only two, because all you keep hearing out there is, Patricia's his flunky. He came in, he kisses Belichick's ass, and they're grooming. He's going to be the successor to.
Listen, Chris. Here's the thing about that successor BS. What's going to deter? I don't think Belichick's going anywhere anytime soon if he has success. If he has success and he's fighting for championships again with this quarterback, he'll be here another 4 or 5 years. I mean, Saban just signed a 10-year contract. He's a little younger than Belichick. So I don't think, but if things go south and we struggle, we win 6 games this year, we win 7, 8 games next year, I think the Crafts are going to move on from Belichick. And Matt Patricia don't have a shot in the dark of getting that job because they're going to move on from that whole regime.
Well, see, and what you're hearing out there is contrary to that. Is all the Crafts like Belichick. He's been endorsed. McDaniel was here. McDaniel basically was getting groomed for it, which is why he didn't go to Indy. And the organization didn't do anything to stop him from going to Vegas. And so, he's disgruntled. He was kind of disgruntled. He walked out the door because he thought he'd have the job. And now they're showing that it will be Patricia. Mark, I agree with you. I don't see that decision has been made, especially if O'Brien comes through the door, which will make everybody in the region look like friggin' morons if that happens. But when you're talking about McDaniel, okay, and his exit, to me, this was going to be his last shot, I think, unless he was for sure going to be taking over and had some sort of a handshake deal with Belichick that he was going to be coming in as the coach. But again, I think it was a matter of, I don't know how long Bill's going to coach. Therefore, it was kind of like a Brady situation. But did you hear what he said this week when in the press conference?
Hey, this guy.
There he goes again. Well, let me set it up. So he basically came out in his press conference and he said when asked about the Patriots coaching, there's a lot of good coaches over there. I know a lot of them. They're smart guys. I started coaching on the defensive side of the ball for 2 years, and then all of a sudden I was coaching quarterbacks and then calling plays. So with Bill, he likes you to do everything. Coaching is coaching. And he got lambasted for that. Coaching is coaching because everyone in the media kept saying.
Well, first of all, listen, McDaniels was on that staff when O'Brien was there, correct?
Yes.
Yes, he was. Okay.
Yes, he was.
So
and then
he
he went to Denver.
So
then
he was,
took over and then went to Denver. Yeah.
So he was on the staff when he was there. And then when he did eventually came back, who else was there? I forgot who else was there. Who else was there when he came back?
Yeah, I mean, Patricia was there, right?
No. Who was behind
Brady.
center? I forgot.
Yeah,
Patricia.
Brady.
What the hell is wrong with you?
I thought you were talking about. We're talking about coaching. You're still talking about Brady. He's in love with Brady, and that shirt is starting to get more towards Tampa.
I'm not in love with Brady, but listen to me. You don't think Brady taught him a few things? Come on, Chris.
No, I
don't
mean,
be
I'm
naive.
Sure.
Come
I'm
on.
Sure. But look. When you talk about repetition, and all the media people said, no, it's reps. How can you not want a guy that's been in the system, that's been a coach before? Doesn't years behind you mean anything? Yeah, it does. It does mean something as a coach, to be doing it for a while, right? But coaching, I agree with McDaniels. Coaching is coaching, Mark, in a degree. I'm a coach. I'm a football coach, okay? Reps and repetition and over for players, absolutely. But for coaching, okay, and I know we're over, but this has not been said. For coaching, when you coach in this day and age, you've got to know what's happening, just like Mark said. You got to know what's happening on the other side of the ball. You've got to prepare, okay, to stop that team, to know what they're doing, to understand how the offensive line is coached, so you can understand what their steps are, so you can understand what their communication is, so you can understand how the receivers are coached to get off the line and what quarterbacks are coached in progressions. As a defensive coach, you better know that, because if not, in this day and age, you're not going to be able to stop a single offense if you don't understand how it works and how they're coached. So I don't think it's as dire as people think it is my point. Yes, I would like to have had them in the system. That I got a problem.
Well, I will say this. I agree with you, except for Joe Judge. I don't, Chris. I just don't think he's a good coach. I just don't think he's a good coach.
I don't think he's going to get the reins on anything anyway.
No, I don't think so either. I just don't think he's a good coach.
So we'll see what happens as we go forward. But everybody's ready to pack it in with them and say, "Hey, the season's lost. It's
way too early for that."
Patricia's going to ruin the whole year for them, and so let's give the players every damn excuse, right, in the book. So, Mark, we'll see what happens tonight. A lot of interesting little things to happen. I think the roster is pretty well set at this point.
I do.
But there are a couple little position battles. So everybody out there, take a look. Let us know in Heated Hotline this week what you think. If Mark was wrong, I mean, his shirt's starting to get a little more towards Tampa, don't you think, than New England?
This is not a Tampa shirt. This isn't creamsicle orange. Yeah, you got to get your
I said it's getting closer and closer to that. You look
Joe,
like
straighten him out, will you?
Jersey on. So the Pats Nation was presented by Special Sauce Podcast. What's your special sauce? SpecialSaucePodcast.com. Hey, when we come back, buckle up. Catone, you better be ready and you better bring it, Mark. Catone's comments is next.
Special Sauce Podcast. You liking the song? The sauce is good, man.
This is start out as finance train them, trust them, and let them read.
With your host, Marcus Aurelius. Tune in to Special Sauce Podcast, wherever you podcast. What's your special sauce? Time for Catone's Comments!
I'm going to tell you what really, really burns me up. I've had it. I can't take it anymore. I've put up with it for years. I can't take it anymore. Oh. This show is called Corso Catone. Catone. My name. Real simple. Catone. I don't think it's that difficult. Mark Catone. Simple. Very simple. I get calls every day at work. I get calls on my phone, these random telemarketers. Who the hell, where they're calling from some country I never heard of. They call up, they ask, is Mr. Cantone available? Cantone. Okay, I look at myself. Where did the N come from? I ask you, where did the N come from? It's simple pronunciation. Look at the word. Catone. Where did they get the N from? Maybe they need glasses. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're delusional. They put extra letters in my name. Or the other great one is Catones. Is Catones there? Where the hell is the S? I want to know where the hell is there an S in my name? Because I've looked. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm confused a little bit. I don't know. I looked. I don't see no N. I don't see no S. It's Catone. Catone. They could say Capone, couldn't they? Capone, Capone. There was no distinguishing about that. Everybody knew who the hell he was, right? Al Capone, Capone. Mine's Catone. Simple. Enough said. Today was the kicker. Today set me over the edge. Somebody called me up today and said, is Mr. Cantonese there?
Oh,
I said, Mr. Cantonese? Who the hell is Mr. Cantonese? Like, are you kidding me? Mr. Cantonese?
Cartwright.
Cartwright. Yeah, no, the best one they call me up is Mr. Cat One there. Cat One. Is there something wrong with you people, Mr. Cat One? Really? Mr. Cat One. Okay, I'm going to put whiskers on. Meow, meow. What, are you kidding me? Really?
Give me a second.
Please. You know what? The name is Catone. Corso in Catone. It's very simple. Please get it right so I can at least be able to not be called Mr. Cantonese. I don't even know what to say about that. I don't know.
Joe, because I'm laughing too hard right now.
The Cat One got me though. That one took me a second. I was like, wait, why? like that should be your email now. Cat One.
Right? Yeah.
Because all I can think about right now is Cartwright, body of three, Cartwright. Call us heated hotline. Tell me if you know what that's from. You know, I know you two know. But Mark, you know, maybe they have a you know, an understanding that you should have.
He don't get it, Mark. He don't get it.
He doesn't get it. Joe.
He doesn't get it. I know exactly what Mark is talking about.
Thank you, Joe.
My name has been misspelled a dozen different ways.
Oh, but come on, Joe. I mean, Joe, come on.
I was like, are you same end situation? What? Where did you get the L?
Okay, Joe, you know what, Joe? Spell your name right now. The real. Spell your name.
Guarnieri.
So you expect
same way, right?
Yeah. You expect somebody calling from one of these countries, okay, calling you on a telemarketer to understand how to pronounce that?
Like Mark said, sound it out.
Sound it out. Mine is pretty but Joe, mine's pretty simple, I would think.
Yours is really simple.
Yours is really simple. But maybe they have a sense that you don't understand geography. I mean, you're talking about countries you've never heard of before.
Maybe I don't understand geography, you know?
Yeah, listen, I'm with you. For some reason, it seems like
well, yours is pretty simple, Chris. I'm sure they're not botching your last name.
Oh, please. Every time I'm in court, I hear Caruso.
Oh, you?
Oh, my God. You know, I think it's Italian names. I think it's Italian heritage. The last names, unless you're in that region, when Joe, you can attest to this being in Hollywood. When you get outside, Joe had to change the spelling of his name.
The people don't know you asked me to spell the real spelling, and I took the I out because of that very reason. They could not, with the extra I in the middle, they could not even. They wouldn't even try to pronounce it. Wouldn't even try. They wouldn't even get to the G. They'd go Joe.
Joe, right? Yeah, they just call you Joe G.
When I'm in the car, okay, and you know I have the hands free thing, and you touch the button, and you can say you can ask to call somebody,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Which is
yeah.
like, Star Trek to me,
Yeah.
And so you hit the button and I say, call Mark Catone on cell, right? This is what she says back to me. Calling Mark Catone.
Of course they do. It's of course.
Every single time. And I laugh every single time. But yeah, no, listen, I mean, it's when you get outside that region, it's crazy. I hear people around here, that watch the show to come up and say, that Cantone, no, that Catanani. I've heard you called Catanani before.
Catanani.
What the hell is Catanani? I'm like, I don't even know how to handle that.
Joe, I don't know where to get Joe. I don't know.
With CORSO and Cat One.
There we go.
Cat One. Hey, so listen, everyone out there, let's hear from you. Heated Hotline. Give us a call. Give us your best inflection, or say Mark's name the way you think other people would butcher it, or my name, or even Joe's name. I want to hear from you as to what you think about that. But Mark, listen, I'm with you. It's insulting, right? You want to be called your name.
I don't think it's that difficult to
No,
name.
it isn't that difficult. You should be pissed off as you are.
Listen, it's basic phonics. It's basic phonics.
It is phonics. So, it's a funny word.
The best part is you say regional. Every single one of my trophies is spelled wrong from high school.
Really?
Joe, I don't think yours is a good example.
One name correct. And then the only one that my last name was spelled correctly, my first name, somebody put Jamie. I'm like, okay, well, there you go. That's it.
You see how he said trophies?
Trophies.
I don't know.
Oh,
I think
threw
it's
that
a
in.
trophy.
Chris, he threw that in, trophies.
He slipped that trophy. Get the apostrophe, get the S off that. Trophy. I think it is. So good stuff, Mark. Catone's comments was presented by CORSO Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. CORSOLawGroup.com. Allow us to be your voice. Hey, we haven't seen it in a while, so let's bring it back. On the other side, Weekly Rewind is next.
It's that time again for a timeout for a message from one of our sponsors. No one ever thinks they will be in the need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. CORSO Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people all across this great country who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. So whether it's a traffic ticket or if you need reduced DUI or more serious issues, call or go online to CORSOLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help you. CORSO Law Group.
Back in with more CORSO and Catone, the real deal New England feel. See, Joe, in that, that spot, you say my name correctly. Mark said it perfect. CORSO. See that? CORSO. So beautiful. So listen, there's been a lot this week that's happened, and that's why we had to bring back Weekly Rewind, because there's so many little snippets of things that Mark and I want to talk about and bring up. So let's get it done. Weekly Rewind, Joe. Going back through the week. About a Weekly Rewind. I think since they're in season, we should start with baseball. We should start with the Red Sox. And a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about, even last week, should they still be, did they do the wrong thing in not making some more moves, bring some quality guys in, keeping guys that they got rid of, the catcher and so on, to try to make a run at this wild card. Now they're starting to free fall again.
Yeah, that's finished. They're finished. They made
finished.
a little bit of a run, but they're finished now.
So what happens next?
So there was, I was listening this week and who knows, right? They're saying, don't put it past John Henry from saying, hey, we're getting lambasted in the media. People, I'm not dealing with this. Go make an offer and go get Aaron Judge. I don't think that's even possible, but that's what I heard this week. That, they think the Red Sox, because he's hearing all of the noise, even though he gave Chaim Bloom this directive and Bloom is following what he's supposed to be doing, the belief is he's going to try to make a big splash in free agency. It's not bringing back Xander Bogaerts. Bogaerts is gone, but with that money, they think Henry's going to make a big splash. I don't know. Do you believe that, Chris?
I mean, you want to give Devers. I mean, you got to give Devers some love.
Well, they'll take care of Devers, but in addition to Devers, do you think that they'll do that? I don't believe that to be true. I really don't.
I think it would be a mistake. And 1 and 2, I'm not sure Hein Bloom knows how to even do that. I honestly think he's over his head in being in this market like this. And this is year 3 for him. We talked about that coming in, or a couple of months ago. That to me, this is do or die for him. You know, they've made playoffs. They've gotten to the league, championship series with him. Averaged 80 some odd wins a season while he's been here, and now it's done. Now it's fallen off. So this next offseason
is a big one.
Is a huge one for Hein Bloom. And you're right. Listen, don't put it past any owner out there to leave the GM hanging out to dry. Right? That's their job.
Of course, that's their job. Of course,
that's your job. You're going to be the one. You think the owner's going to take it on the chin?
He's not going to take it on the chin, and they love. And Henry loves Cora, so Cora's not taking it on the chin.
The bottom line is this: every time you watch them on TV and you see pockets of empty seats all over the place,
that's the trigger, right?
That's the telling part. That's what's going to happen. So, are they going to make bucks? But Judge.
Story.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. To answer your question about Judge, my take on that for Boston, from a Boston perspective now, because the Yankee perspective is a lot different. No, that's a mistake. It's a mistake to bring a guy that old in that I understand what he's doing. He's a league MVP, and that's what he's going to be this year. But to bring a guy like that in with his injury history, into a new place, relying because it's Devers, and they'll pay him Judge, and that'll be it. I don't think that's the recipe for success, that kind of guy. I think some other pieces, I like what they did with Story. I want to see pieces like that. Okay. Those are the kind of moves, multiple moves like that. And you're still paying them.
Yeah.
But I think Judge would be a mistake here.
Okay. Fair enough. And I only threw that out there because that was what I was thrown out there this week that I had read. So I wanted to put that on the table.
You have a story, Mr. Cantonese?
So you're talking about, empty seats, right? So Tuesday night, my daughter, who's not a Red Sox fan, but went to the game with a few people. So she's there. They bought tickets. So they're sitting along the right field line. And, of course, I know the I believe she's senior vice president, Raquel Ferreira, for the Boston Red Sox very well. They're taking some heat too. They are, but her nephew is very good friends with my son. And during the baseball off season, we're going to get her on the show, Chris, because I promised that last year and I didn't, but we're going to get her on the show just to talk about women in leadership positions in baseball. But so my daughter texts her and says, "Hey, I'm at the game, blah, blah. Where can we park, this and that?" So she kind of told her where to park. So like 15 minutes before the game's going to start, she texts my daughter and says, "Oh, where are you sitting?" She tells her, she says, "Meet me wherever." So my daughter and her 3 friends go meet her. And she says, "Come on." She says, "I'm going to take you down to better seats." She said, "All right." She said, "You're all Red Sox fans?" And, she says to my daughter, "I know you're not, but you'll do the right thing down there." And my daughter's like, "Of course I will." She says, "I'm going to take you to Cora's seats because his family's not here tonight." So they sat in Alex Cora's family seats. They're second row to the left of the dugout, right? They're on TV a couple of times, but Cora's own family wasn't there. So you talk about empty seats, and I'm sure it's a coincidence, but the point was, even the people around her, she said there was a lot of empty seats in that section, which is for all the VIPs.
Yeah, the money people don't want to show up for that. And listen, if they're not careful, Cora's seats are going to end up in the as far up as you could possibly get if this thing doesn't turn around. But I get what you're saying. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But just, but I'm going to ask her to come on this winter. I think that would be a real good segment.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. She's a great executive in baseball and has done a great job and is well respected all over the league. So it'll be a great show to have her on.
Women in sports and those kinds of positions all over and every other vocation. Real important stuff, good stuff. We want to have her on for that because those are important topics that people need to hear about. So let's see. Again, all of this, let's hear in Heated Hotline. We want to get your take on, is this going to be an off-season that's a do or die? And Mark, on the other side, let's talk Yankees a little bit. Are they limping in? Well,
Well, you know what, they're
this
limping,
week was
but,
better.
but it's better. They got
It's
to
Oakland.
jolt, right? It was Oakland, but they got to jolt them energy against the Mets. They beat the Mets twice.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
Right? Mets are they're at the top of their division, right? So listen, if they finish strong in September, in maybe they got a shot, right? I don't know if they can beat Houston. I just don't want to see Verlander and that crew again. But if they don't make it to the World Series, or they don't even make it to the League Championship Series because they get knocked out before, is Boone gone? Is Cashman gone?
It's a failure. It's a complete failure of a season if you don't at least make it to the league championship. And to me, even the World Series, if you can't, after the kind of first half they had, and if you can't make it to the World Series, yeah, that's a failure. And somebody's got to be held.
Somebody's got to go, right?
Yeah, I mean, and we've been
my vote's
kicked out of there, But again, I mean, he's done a good job this season. Let's see how they finish. But getting Stanton back, because he came back and hit right away.
I think getting healthy. The bullpen scares me. They got some injuries. They just lost Cortez now. Nesta went on IR for a little bit, 15 days. So if they can get themselves healthy, listen.
They're not going to beat Houston. They're not going to beat Houston.
No, I know. And somebody's going to have to beat Houston for us, and I don't see that happening either.
They're going to have to stop banging the drums in the hallway.
They're going to have to. And listen,
cheat a little bit.
As a Yankee, if you're a GM of the Yankees and the owner of the Yankees, do you sign Judge for what he's going to ask for? Based on what you just said about the Red Sox not signing because of the injuries, but all of that stuff. But as a Yankee, because he is a Yankee, do you sign him, Chris?
For them, for their team, and how they're structured, yes. Because I think the complementary parts around him, are signed. They have guys now that are sort of locked up, right? Yep. In their system, and the Carpenters of the world, and the Rizzos, and those kind of guys, Donaldsons, those kind of guys being on your roster, and the kind of bullpen and the pitching they have right now. I'm sure there are things that are going to be coming due, but because of that, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think.
I agree with you. I agree
with you. There, and he's the face of your franchise. He always has been, and he will. So, I think so. And I'd be remiss. We have a couple minutes left. We wanted to talk a little Bruins, but we could talk about that next week with Pasternak.
Bruins.
Because Pasternak's not. He's not biting on a deal, and he says he wants.
Well, he
don't
want to. Yeah, he don't want to take. He don't want to take the hometown discount.
They're gonna end up paying him. So, but I want to talk about this Durant conclusion to this Durant situation. And so this week, he made nice with Brooklyn with the Nets, and now they say he's going to stay in Brooklyn. Now, is it because of what he did with Brooklyn, or is it because the day before that announcement came, you saw the season tickets and the schedule advertisement for the Celtics come out? And who's on the cover?
Jaylen
Brown and Jason Tatum. Now, you don't put him on a cover of advertising for seats for tickets unless this guy's going to be on your team. You just don't do it. You know?
So I think the Celtics gave the Nets a window. That train left the station, and the Celtics were like, "Screw it, we're out." And you're right. And I think putting him on the ticket like that, Chris, was trying to maybe do a little bit of a let's kiss and make up, right?
Do you think they ever actually dangled Brown White first round pick? That's what the rumor was.
That's the rumor. I don't know.
Officially offered that, or you think it was just?
I don't know.
You think it was just Durant's camp, somebody like that trying to get some momentum on that, get me out of here thing. Because how can you now? It's just an interesting thing. Because how the hell is Durant? This is not over.
No. Listen. I would not be surprised if Durant gets traded still before training camp starts. If somebody decides to come up with an offer, it wouldn't shock me. I don't think it'll be the Celtics, though. I think that if that was a true scenario, I think that train's gone. Like you said, Chris, they would have never put him on the tickets.
No. Now you have to worry about, are you going to lose? Mark's fear and mine was, because we think you're going to lose Jaylen Brown anyway.
Yep. And now you lose him for nothing. Now what?
And then you're losing for nothing. Mark my words, and this is the last thing I'll say. Miami, because you can't have two max rookie deals on your roster at the same time.
Yep.
If he actually plays Simmons, you're going to see a deal with Adebayo in Miami go to the Nets, and they're going to send Simmons and Durant down to Miami. You watch.
I heard a rumor today that they were going to send Simmons. Adebayo was going to go to Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
I heard something about Durant being moved to Utah for Donovan Mitchell.
Oh, so this
and there was like a three-way thing. I couldn't quite follow it, but you're onto something, Chris. You're onto something. Simmons was involved in it. You're onto something.
This is not
that was
over
one of the
Durant.
rumors. It's not over. You're right.
This is not over with Durant. If we had a little more time, we could talk a little bit about how that be, but we're going to have lots of time to get into that when the NBA playoffs happen. So Weekly Rewind was presented by Special Sauce Podcast. What's your special sauce? SpecialSaucePodcast.com. Boy, time flies when you're having fun, right, guys? We are out of that.
We are out of time. It's time to go watch the Patriots.
We're going to Patriots kick off in about 10 minutes. So everybody out there, make sure you tune in, watch the Patriots game, watch our show tomorrow night, Saturday night, 7 p.m. Let us know in Heated Hotline. Were we right? Were we wrong? Some of the position battles. And make sure you come back next week, 7 p.m. Eastern, Saturday evening. Hey, we're gonna be talking final roster cuts as they got to get down to 53 on the 30th, I believe. And you know what? We're going to have something real special. Mark and I are going to give our season predictions and wins and loss totals.
Oh, here we go again.
And Mark,
Joe,
you're going to get lambasted.
Joe, you better write these down because he makes up stories as we get later in the year, Joe. He forgets, Joe.
We did this a month ago. I have those numbers. You know,
I
can't wait to see you start talking about 10, 11, 12 wins. So we'll see what happens. And anything else, we'll talk baseball and anything else you want to talk about. Call us in Heated Hotline. We are Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. See you next Saturday.